On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, Keith and I discuss my first-person experience of trying out for a professional team. Yes, the Delaware Blue Coats had open tryouts this past weekend. I was invited. How did I fare? We'll talk about that and much, much more right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome, you are Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens from 97.5 The Fanatic Radio in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and my partner from the Inquirer.com, Sixers beat writer Keith Pompey. Keith, what's going on, man? How was the weekend?
It was great, man. How was yours?
No complaints. You know, all good, and football's back and all that. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Busy weekend.
Yeah. I mean, look, good win for the Eagles. You know, Cowboys look kind of bad, but
it's like 6 to 8 weeks for Dak Prescott with that hand injury. So that's going to be a tough one for them. Only team to lose in the NFC East, by the way.
Yeah, well, hey, like the way he played yesterday, that might be a blessing.
Yeah, he wasn't good before the injury. Yeah, he was not. That Tampa defense looked pretty good against them. But, you know, we can always jump into that when we get here. Folks, we are fans of sports. So as we watch these games, we'll every now and again just throw those in the mix as we talk about basketball, of course. But you know, some big stuff happens in pro football or baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever. We'll just throw our 2 cents in there. But thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, right here at Locked On 76 as well. Keith, while there were a lot of guys with their first games this year, some rookies, maybe some undrafted guys that came out of nowhere as rookies and got some work in the NFL for the very first time, you have to go through some tryouts occasionally to get there. And I had a tryout this weekend with the Delaware Blue Coats, the G League affiliate of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's my 4th time doing it, the open tryout. And, you know, I've been invited. One other time I was invited, I couldn't do it. And I think that was after my ACL surgery when they offered to, they wanted me to come out. And after that year, it just wasn't, I wasn't ready to do that. So this is the first time in a couple of years that I've been back, and it was pretty fun. It's always fun to go out there, man.
I got a question. So how did it initially, like you said, this is your 4th year. So basically 1 year you couldn't do it, right? So one year you couldn't do it. So how did it, so you basically been doing it over a 5-year span, right? 4 out of 5. How did it initially come about?
Well, they wanted to, as you know, the G League at first being the D League and then changing it to the G League in terms of the title. They wanted to start to, I don't know how it is in other cities, so I'll just start there. But there have been so many people, like the one example that always pops up is Jonathan Simmons, former Sixer, by the way, where he was a tryout person for the San Antonio Spurs affiliate, the Austin Toros, I think it is, and paid his way, come in for the tryout. I think it's a $200 general admission fee for the tryout. Went in, work out, see if you can be recognized in that space, and maybe get a tryout for the team in general for the training camp there, not the Spurs training camp, the G League training camp of the affiliate, in this case, the Toros, and in my case, the Blue Coats. And they wanted to, because it wasn't so big, it wasn't so well known, because you know how it is, Keith. If you're going to the NBA or if you're going overseas, yes, you may get a tryout, but it's because you have an agent. It's because you played collegiately and the scouts saw you and all of that. But with this was a different avenue, a different way, a different path to make it to a professional team. And even having to start at the lower level, it's a start. It's an opportunity. It's a beginning for something where you can still live out your dream and pursue that career. And they wanted to get some buzz out. So when it happened in the very, very beginning of it all, they started to put it out there on NBA.com, on the team's websites of the open tryout to give people an opportunity to do so, to create that buzz. And they also wanted me as a media member to come in and give a first, as you call it, a first person experience and account, just to kind of explain it a bit on the radio at the time and still currently, to tell people how it goes. So if they were a little reluctant, they don't want to hear, or maybe they just didn't hear about it, Keith. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe their agent didn't see it, that even if I said one thing and word of mouth traveled elsewhere, and the next thing you know, you have another body to come in and work out with that opportunity, that chance. So that's how it began, because they wanted to kind of spread the word of what they're doing and giving people chances, giving people opportunities. And the coaches this weekend, and Jameer Nelson, who's the assistant general manager, former NBA player, all-star, St. Joe's great here in Philadelphia, that was one of the things that they preached as they huddled up, the group of 75 people that did show up at Chase Fieldhouse in Delaware, to let them know that this is it. This is what it's about. And giving you a first person, opportunity, giving you a chance to, again, try to find your way into the league somehow. You never know how old you will be. You never know where it may come from, but this is a chance. And all they ask for you to do is to come out and respect the game, play as hard as you could, you're possible, and you never know who you might see. And I saw a lot of guys there that I recognized in terms of basketball circles that may have the ear of a lot of people. And there was some really good talent there this weekend. And that's how it all really began with my first time out there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but do you have skills though, bro? Was you like, what was you doing? Was you locking them down? Was you in the corner hitting threes? Were you representing for the over 40 crowd? Like you was playing with the young boys.
I think I did represent for the over 40 crowd. I say that part. So how they do it is when they invite you, there are guys who played collegiately at really high levels, right? So are you familiar with the guy? I don't remember his name. 5'2" guy, went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yeah,
and with the tournament, he, there were some stories out there following him because, again, he's 5'2". He's out there and he's good, and he was there. And he was good, and I was playing against him. So obviously, you think about it, you're like, I have no business being out there on the floor with this dude. His name is Darnell Rogers, from University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and really talented guy, point guard. And, he's out there. So I did represent, I think, for the 40 and over crowd. I didn't shoot a lot. I think I shot the ball one time in the entire amount of games that I played, which were roughly about 10 games, and they are 8-minute increments of games. And they try to funnel, because you have 75 guys, you have a certain amount of teams, you have 8 on a team or 7 on a team, and you want to make sure everybody gets the fair amount of run time out there on the floor. So if you 8 minutes, if I don't start that particular one, I'll come in the 4-minute mark and see how it goes, and whether it's keeping our lead and closing the game out, or we're trailing and I'm helping to come back and at least put us in position to win that game. Mm-hmm. I think I fared okay. I did make my only shot. It was a jump shot too. But I was, like you said, playing defense, trying to make sure that I was helping the team out in any way, looking to pass. And the one thing that I know they were trying to do was what the NBA does, is getting to the basket and shoot threes. It was more of, if you are open, shoot it, of course. But as we know in today's game, it's about the open shot, which is the three-pointer, creating those opportunities and getting to the basket and finishing at the rim. So that was something that was important. And of course, as a media person, I also want to know what they're doing, what type of sets are they running, and all of that. So I have so much to share with this, Keith, as you talked about, and I'm sure you have more questions. But let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into that a little bit more of what it was all about and some of the talent that I did see. And later on, we'll jump into both the new in-tournament rules for the 23-24 campaign in the NBA and the salary cap, which is going up next year, as it always does. We'll do that next right here, Locked On 76ers.
Before we talk about that, let's talk about BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchup, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week games. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and score. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Do it today, people. Do it today. There's a lot of action going on in professional sports. Get in there, college too. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So what else did you want to know? Because, the
thing is that, the thing is, like, were there any players who really impressed you, guys who, people should keep an eye on?
Darnell Rodgers, he was good. He impressed me. Seeing the story and seeing it during the tournament during the year, playing D1, you can tell that he was good. But now seeing him up close and personal and just having, control of the floor, having control of the game, and understanding what he could and could not do in certain instances, but never, after playing all these years and playing at that height, nothing's going to change for him, right? So he knows how to play the game. He knows how to use his body and all. He had one play where I was on the floor for this one, wasn't defending him, but I was on the opposite side. So, of course, just peeking around, keeping your head on the swivel as he was moving around. And he drove to the basket, and he got amongst the trees in there. And he basically, as I try to lay it out there, the basket is right here in front of him. But as the defenders close out on him, and, of course, that length that they have, he wound up turning his back to the play. But as he turned his back to the play, basically back to the basket, he had a way of getting the angle where he could still, as a lefty too, by the way, use his angle with his left hand to shoot it from basically behind his head with enough spin to get it off the glass and convert it. And it was an impressive move for someone 5'2". But again, he's been doing it for so long. This is just second nature to him of which ways to finish at the basket. So he stood out to me. There were a couple of other wing players that I don't know their names, because a lot of these players you sometimes just don't know. Did recognize a few faces, more local stuff where I recognize their faces, but definitely he stood out to me. Rodgers from University of Maryland, Baltimore County. He was one that really did. So I did match up with him twice, and you kind of look at guys and guys look at you, and they think certain things on you. So I'm like, oh man. And this is no zone. This is all man to man. And he has the speed, he has the handle, he has the shiftability, the creativity to do whatever he needs to do. So I'm like, all right, I'm on an island right here. So first, I'm not trying to shade him left because he's a lefty. I'm trying to shade him right. And the one play, I definitely feel like I held my own of staying in front of him and forcing him to pass the ball to a corner. Now, I got a little bit of help as the man shaded over, but it wasn't more because he beat me to the spot. It was more of that was the right basketball play. And but I was in front of him the entire time. I held my own there, and so that was one play with that one. And the other one, I think he did get to the basket, and I don't think he made the shot, but he did get a good shot off of a good attempt. On the other end, he matched up with me, but the way we did it was we were moving the ball around. So shot goes up. The only other time, since I'm a little bit taller than him, I'm not that much taller than him, 5'6". He's strong. So box me, low base. He's got thick legs and all. He's built up top, but I was able to get inside position on him, you know, like a swim move to get around him and find my position as the shot went up. But the ball bounced at a different angle away from both of us, so neither one of us got it. But he was the one that really impressed me out of a lot of good wings, maybe a couple of bigs, just a couple of bigs in my opinion. More wings, a lot of wings, guards that were there in this one. So, but it was fun. Jameer Nelson, a lot of other Reggie Redding, as you know, from the Sixers player development, former Villanova standout, TJ DeLeo.
Let's give them some props from coming from the prep. I know you love Villanova. I'm just listening because his cousin
Philadelphia standout from the prep.
Before y'all think I'm hating, his cousin played at Villanova, so I'm just teasing him.
Yeah. So Reggie was there as one of the coaches. TJ DeLeo, also player development from the Sixers, Temple University standout.
Yeah.
Ash Howard, former Villanova coach.
Ash Howard, okay.
Yeah, Ash was there.
He's working with the G League team.
Well, he was there this weekend. He was helping out.
Okay.
I did talk to Ashley a little bit after the games. After everything was done, I talked to Ashley a little bit. I hadn't seen him in a while, since Villanova, really. And you know, a former LaSalle coach. So yeah, there were some people there. Again, some people there that you know, you saw some other Sixers personnel from up top, the front office and business side that were also there that I had a chance to stop and chat it up with a little bit. And Alex Yo from the Delaware Blue Coats, who runs a lot of their stuff. Kobe Carl, again, wasn't there, the head coach, because his dad was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. So he had a good excuse.
Exactly. I got a question for you. My last question.
And I did talk to Kobe on Wednesday on the radio to talk about it all. And Keith, that's when he invited me. He invited me live on the air because he had heard that I had done it in the past. And he said, I want you to come out to that one. So that was pretty cool.
No, but how many players from here in all the time that you participated in this? I'm not talking about league wide. I know it's hard, but how many of these guys who tried these open tryouts actually went on to make the Blue Coats? Have there been any?
Yeah, there've been a few. There've been a couple of guys. I want to say 4 years for me. So I want to say about and it's not just making the team, it's more getting that tryout.
Yeah.
I want to say about 7 that I remember
went on and got the
tryout. Yeah, okay. 7 or 8 got the actual tryout. And again, Keith, this is not easy because while this particular weekend there were only 3 courts, the other times that I've done it, it was at Temple University where 5 courts. So you have a big number of people. By the way, in less than 2 weeks now, on the 24th, they'll be at Delaware State. And they already have, today, 100 plus participants who will be there at Del State for the second tryout. And so again, think about that when I say 7 or 8 people get plucked from there, and they may have some individual work with the team, and then they'll ultimately decide if they want to have them come to the tryouts, where these tryouts, Demir Rosby Crabtree from the Villanova Wildcats, he was also there. So
okay,
you never know, and it's not easy because you're talking about 100 players that they want to actually bring in and give them a tryout, invite them to the next one to see how they fare against that next group of competition, and then go from there. And I was already invited back for that one, the second one. I just don't know if I want to take a 2-hour drive to Del State.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
On a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. But yeah, that's the number I think is correct. And I can follow up and maybe give you a better answer from there. And I might be off, but I just remember about 7 or 8 guys that were actually invited to the training camp.
All right. Hey, but look, D, before we get into the next segment, I want to talk to y'all about the NBA top 50. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who is the most valuable NBA player this season? Locked On and Bet Online present the NBA top 50 most valuable players starting on September 19th. Find out on Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I'm telling y'all, you better do it today. Definitely do it today.
That's right. Make sure you get out there and do it today, folks. Do it today. Or you might have these, if you can hear the sirens in the back, they might be coming for you. But look, man, no, it was a fun experience. It's always fun. I always appreciate the invite, man. It's really cool. And for them to continue to invite me, again, I do something. I don't know what I do, but I do something enough for them to keep inviting me back. And how I explained it, Keith, real fast before we jump into the salary cap and the in-season tournament, is that they have the levels of courts. And the levels of the courts are, from really good top level to the lower level, where it's like, all right, these guys are just out here, just trying to see what it's all about and all of that. So I've been lucky enough in these where the very first time I did it, they had me on the second best court, some really talented guys, and they reserved the right, after watching you for a few games, to move you up to the big court or the next level of court. So in this case, I did start because, I had my ACL. This is my first time really playing. So I told them, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to go crazy. So they put me on the lower level court. And out there, I did enough of whatever I did for them to move me up to the second court. And I was just
in the B court at first.
Yeah. So I was just sitting there talking. And the next thing you know, one of the coaches that I did not know, they came up to me and said, "You're moving over to the second court." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I went over there and did that. And that's how they do it. So they have the guys who play collegiately or professionally overseas, and this, scouts are there to watch them too, really. And then they have the lower levels of court. But if you play well enough, they'll see if you can handle that bump up to that next level. So it's pretty fun, man. It was always fun. I always appreciate them inviting me. And I really did think about if I should go back to the Delaware State one. I just don't know if I want to take that drive 2 hours in the morning and then 2 hours back on a Saturday on the day off. But I'll see, because the invite is an open invite, and I'll see if I feel like making it out there on that day. Give it another run.
When is it?
24th of September. At Delaware State.
Yeah, 2 days before the start of training camp.
Exactly. And then the Eagles play, and I just want to make sure I'm all set and I'm right. And I have Eagles pregame the next morning, so before they play Washington. All right, man. Let me give you the numbers so far for the salary cap. The 2023-24 salary cap is currently projected, according to reports, Shams, that $134 million will be the number, 10.4 million higher than this season. So we already talked about it, Keith, off air. So just a little over the 123 million for the 22-23 campaign. And for tax level, it's 162 million for next season already put there. So the Sixers are one of the teams in that tax level, over $150 million. So as always, the salary cap is going to go up next season.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the guys, we're going to have situations where guys are going to make more money, next year. The one person first of all, they already have their bird rights when you talk about James Harden and stuff like that. But that will help out, in regards to taking less of a hit if he wants to take more money. You know what I mean? But I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but next year is when Joel Embiid's contract kicks in, or his extension. Am I right or wrong? Because I do.
For the new one that he signed, right?
Yeah, for the new one
next season.
So
next season.
You know what I mean? So they're still, they're still going to be one of those probably luxury tap teams, assuming if Harden comes back. I think next year is going to be Tobias Harris's final season. So, there's still a lot. Now, let's just say a guy like Matisse Thybulle, he'll become a restricted free agent if he's still on the team. He's going to be one of those things where, they're going to have to up his ante, so to speak, especially if he has a good year. So, I think it's going up, which is good. for the players and all that. But to me, I always look at it like, players' salary. When you look at it, each year they make more and more money for the most part, right? And it's kind of like that inflation thing. But it's good. It's good. It gives them more options. But I also think that if Harden plays the way he does and he wants to come back, if Matisse plays the way that he does, and if they re-sign him, because he's going to be a restricted free agent, I think that there's still going to be a tax team, and then we're not even talking about Joel, Embiid, the money that he's going to demand or he's going to get.
Yeah. So that's that. No surprise there. It's always going to go up as long as everything is okay. No pandemic getting in the way and all of that. So that's that. Also, Keith, the in-season tournament that has been talked about a lot over the last couple of seasons. Looks like it's going to be in place, man, for the 23-24 season, according to Shams. The framework of the season, it goes as such: Cup games through November.
Mm-hmm.
8 teams advance to single elimination final in December. The other 22 continue with regular season. All games part of normal 82-game schedule, 1 extra for 2 final teams. What do you make of this? And I think there was a little bit more. They're still finalizing and working on the concept, which includes to be determined prizes for the 8 teams in advance to the single elimination round. What do you think of this for teams who look at this as a gimmick, whatever, but all they really care about is the end game beginning from April to June?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, like, it's one of those things where initially I don't like it, right? But it's also nor did I like how they changed the All-Star game and did all that other stuff, where they played to a certain score as opposed to playing, having a time limit on it. But then I learned to like it, right? It brings some excitement. So initially, from a selfish standpoint, I'm like, come on, man, I don't have time for this. Give me an 82-game schedule and leave it there. The one concern that I have is that all games are part of a normal 82-game schedule.
Yeah.
1 extra for the 2 finals teams. So it's kind of like, well, what happens if like we're going to have to do these tiebreakers? And when you got one team playing, you got 2 teams playing 83 games and everybody else playing 82. So do they get the tiebreaker just because they made it to the finals? You understand what I'm saying? It's like I think that all the games should, like, everybody should play the same amount of games. That's just my opinion, And then the one thing that I think, and for selfish reasons, this is what I don't like that. But for selfish reasons, like, okay, here we go. You're the Sixers, covering the Sixers, or you're a Sixers fan, or even a player. So all of a sudden, they're playing in this single elimination tournament, and then they leave, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you got to hurry up and play. We got 3 regular season games that we're going to give you right now. You know what I mean? That's really not on the schedule. I guess from being a traditionalist, I want to know right now where I'm going to be at on November the 6th, scheduled to be at, right? Now, yep. I don't want to learn in like November the 3rd that, all right, November the 6th, I got to go to Sacramento. You know what I'm saying? It's yes. Like, but again, that's a selfish reason. It's something that we're all going to have to adjust to. The one thing I don't like is the thing that I really like concerns me and I have problems with is everyone else is going to, like all but 2 of the teams are going to have an 82-game schedule. Mm-hmm. The other 2 are going to have 83. Right. I think that, I got to learn more about how they're going to make this thing work, because just playing an extra game to me is crazy.
As far as the extra game goes, you just hope for the sake of the team, especially if they're going to be a playoff team when it's all said and done, that maybe you can find a way where that's a load management type of game to give some guys off and have your younger players play or your reserves just play a little bit more.
Yeah, true. But for me, it's more or less tiebreakers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
You
Yeah,
know
that's
what I
fair.
mean? To me, it's more that like you got to figure out like so, you know, like okay, they're gonna play an extra game because of the finals, but let's just say if the LA Lakers made it to the finals and the Phoenix Suns didn't, right? But just because the Lakers played, just because the Lakers played one more game,
Sure.
when they won that game, that one they played, they percentage points, they're going to finish with the number one seed. I think that's where we have a little bit of problem because if you're Phoenix, you're saying, yo, hold up. Like, why do they get the number one seed? Because they played one more game. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the only real
and
problem.
Yeah, just because they have all the framework doesn't mean it's completely done. And
yeah, exactly.
Someone else might look at it just like you that is making the decisions and say, hang on, how about this? And then they have to eventually adjust it a little bit because it just doesn't make, enough sense for that. So absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%. Like you, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm willing to see it, but I just don't want it to happen. So it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not making the decisions. It's going to happen. So since it's going to happen, now let's just see how it goes. Let's just see how it fares. Let's see how they use their star players. Let's see if the bonus money is $1 million per player and there's some incentive there for the players, especially the younger ones who don't make as much money as the others that have been playing in the league for a long time and have that different stature in the NBA. So we'll find out. And we don't have to wait till the next season. And once we get there, I'm sure there will be more changes ahead as we get ready for that one. But listen, man, it's always great to catch up with you. And we'll be with everybody 4 times this week as we get closer and closer to the start of the NBA season. And we have Media Day here in Philadelphia on the 26th of September. So we're getting closer, man. We're about 14 days away, Keith. This is the Monday, a couple of weeks, man, 2 weeks. We'll be at Media Day for the start of the Sixers season.
Bring it on. All right.
No doubt, man. Well, listen, we got to thank everybody for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. On our next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about the league in general, a little bit on the Sixers as we get closer and closer. And now make your second listen Locked On NBA, where Locked On experts are covering the biggest stories around the league every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, can you let people know where they can find us? You can find me on the Delaware Blue Coats roster in the fall, but Keith, you can let the people know where they can find us.
Well, see, yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Definitely. But yeah, you can wherever you get your like D just said beforehand, wherever you get your podcast at, you can also subscribe to this podcast, Locked On 76ers. You can also follow our YouTube channel at Locked On 76ers YouTube. Just type it in, right? And then when you go there to become a subscriber, you see that Liberty Bell. Bing, click on that Liberty Bell. And then next thing you know, you become our subscriber. My man D has his own radio show on 97.5, the Devon Givens Show. And this show is one of the best around. It goes from 6 to 10 p.m., right? But also, D is flexible. So certain times. So I got to ask him, are you doing the whole your show?
Tonight, I start at 8 tonight.
See what I mean? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay.
We got 4 hours to talk about a lot of stuff from the football yesterday with Philadelphia and then their season opener in Detroit. And we'll talk about them. We'll talk about the Phillies, all that stuff. So 8 to midnight tonight, Monday night on the Fanatic.
Okay. So, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I always got to keep
tomorrow. I start at 6.
Okay.
But I'm only going to 8 o'clock.
Okay. See, you just flexible. Yeah. But also, you can read my stuff in the Philadelphia Inquirer, but you can also follow us on Twitter. We invite you to follow my man D at Devon G975, right? And you can follow me, Pompey, on Sixers.
And Keith is about to be off vacation, folks. He's got like 2 more days, and then he's back. So you got to check him out at the Inquirer.com. Follow him in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And Keith will be back as we gear up again for the start of the Sixers season. And just to give folks, an idea of what we're going to be doing, we're going to have a lot of fun this year. This is the first time I get to start with Keith from the beginning of the season throughout the entire campaign. So we're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of different ideas that we're going to bring to the show for the entire season. So stay buckled up, stay ready. We never know. I might get called up. You never know. Keith will be covering me. All right.
I know, right? I know, right? All right, bro.
All right, man.
All right. Peace.